Welcome to the RVA Returners Podcast, your weekly source for all things Final Fantasy TCG. All about like I normally do.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. Yesterday was a lot of fun, but I'm most certainly exhausted. It was a lot to do. That's for sure. I couldn't get out of bed today.
Yeah, me neither.
No, but I did, and you know why I got out of bed today? Because we have a new episode of the RVA Returners Podcast. We are back. We are back in the saddle. I'm your host, Chris Adams. With me, as always, is Adam Lane. Adam, how you doing today?
Also tired.
Yeah, we had a long day yesterday, man, but it was a lot of fun. Of course, we're talking about the Cauldron Cup event that we had up in Fredericksburg at your hobby place. But we'll dive into that more. But we're going to go ahead and get into how we like to always start, and that's with, what's coming, Adam.
Do I?
The news. All right, so headlines today. The Cauldron Cup was big, but we had a bigger thing happen this week. We got our first standard bannings this week. Adam, let's talk about it.
Yeah, so we had talked about this on a podcast like a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, how funny is that?
Yeah, we didn't think they were gonna happen this soon, right? Like I had hoped like they were gonna happen around this time, but my guess would have been after Worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we're talking about Gesper and Thaumaturge both getting hit with the banhammer this week. What are your thoughts on this? Well, just go ahead and walk me through, what you think. Just from top to bottom, the impact that's going to have on standard moving forward, the impact that's going to have on Worlds, and let's talk about the just kind of the mindset that a Square and a community is taking behind, now that we know these things are going to happen, that they can happen. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that. But let's start, what do you think the impact of it is moving forward and standard?
First off, it's a great thing, I think. While people might not agree that it was like the most oppressive at competitive play because it wasn't winning everything, mm-hmm. It was definitely terrible for local scenes. Like it made a lot of people quit the game. There were several people that I've talked to had people like their scenes had people leave the game because it was just not fun to play against at all. Mm-hmm. And so that's like the number one thing. Obviously that was the main reason this got banned. It caused these games where they were uninteractive, right? And we covered this on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and I think our points kind of held true, or at least I know my points I think held true, and that was their reasoning too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, was that it was first and foremost unfun. As far as the meta, it's wide open now. Now, when you're building a deck, at least as of December 1st, right? Because these go into effect December 1.
Yep. December 1st.
You don't have to just be can I beat Turbo? It doesn't have to be does this deck just fold up to Turbo? That isn't even a question you have to ask yourself anymore when you're making a deck. And it's going to allow decks to get a little bit greedier. They could play cards that pretty much had no business being played in the last meta. So, I think everything's pretty wide open.
Yeah, I do too, right? Because I think, you hit the nail right on the head when you said that, and this is something that we had been doing since Opus 6. Every time we put a deck together or wanted to build something, we were like, oh, this can't beat Turbo. And I'm not sacrificing a match against the best deck in the format.
Yep.
So a lot of stuff was just off the table. And, as we've seen in recent events, yesterday being a great example, Turbo was just something that needed to go. It would destroy casual scenes. It would really create these just these weird mindsets for competitive scenes as well, because you couldn't prepare for a tournament without having to at least test the Turbo matchup until you didn't want to look at the cards anymore, or at least consider playing it yourself. And by that, I mean, do I want to play a deck that at its absolute worst, has a 50-50 matchup with everyone?
Yeah. And another thing to note, so we said the two cards that were banned were Gesper and Thaumaturge. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I agree with the Thaumaturge banning 100%, but I get it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not mad about it at all. Mm-hmm. It definitely made things more impressive. I think if Gesper leaves, Turbo is still a kind of a playable deck. But I think now that Thaumaturge is gone, I don't think the deck even exists anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think it's for the better because I think there are just better ice builds that at least let you play the game, and that was the problem.
Yeah.
Turbo did not let you play the game. If Turbo hit its nuts, which it could as the deck evolved, it was getting more and more consistent at hitting its opening nuts. You just don't get to play. So there was nothing worse than you fly across the country to go play in a tournament, or you drive 15 hours to go play in a tournament, or you just go up the street and you spend $25 to maybe play the game for a combined 14 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to me, that was the problem. And like you said, scenes were having people quit the game because they did not want to just be involved with something that oppressive. Was it not winning all the competitive events? No, but it was always there.
Right, and it was always a consideration for a lot of really good players, even though they hated it, right?
Exactly.
And that says a lot too. I guess the other point that we should touch on with the bannings is that Worlds will be played on a format that does include these two cards.
And what are your? No, go ahead.
I was gonna let you speak on it first.
I was gonna say because I see both sides of the coin. I see in the fact that the stage has been set for Worlds for a little bit of time now, and people have spent the time testing this deck, testing decks to play against the deck. So you don't want all that work to kind of go out the window, right? All those man hours that teams have put in. But also at the same time too, the worry is there that people playing Turbo at Worlds is going to, like, if they're playing this deck that's now going to have banned cards in it, does it tarnish their credibility, if that makes sense? And I know that's a fear because it's like, oh, you won World with banned cards, or you had a strong showing. But at the same time too, it's like, well, a lot of these people got there on on now quote unquote banned cards. So it's what am I trying to say here? Like, I get it because this is kind of like the end of that season.
Yeah.
But at the same time too, I think it's going to make Worlds a little on the boring side, and I think that's a problem.
Right, and the funny thing is it really the end of the season? Because they're going to be playing Opus 7, right? And we haven't really had an Opus 7 event at all, so...
Right, so is it the end of a season or the beginning of a new season?
Yeah, so you know what I mean? They're playing on a format that... This is the only place this format's going to be played on. Like, at a Square Enix event,
on an
right?
official level, yep.
Which I think doesn't make too much sense to me. I don't think that many people would have complained at Worlds if they had just banned it right out. I mean, I get it, yeah, if you put in a lot of work, and if Turbo was one of your stronger decks, you're going to be disappointed. But now, I think as someone watching Worlds from the outside, it makes it less interesting to view, I think, because now we're viewing a format that literally no one else is going to play.
Exactly.
And then new players that you're telling, like, hey, our Worlds are happening, check it out, watch the stream, look at the Twitch, it's going to blow up, like, this game's getting bigger, and now they're going to watch that, and they're going to see that deck, and they're going to either think, like, a couple things, right? Like, you're going to be like, oh, well, that deck's really aggressive, I like to play aggressive, I want to play that deck, and then then they have to be told, well, that deck's going to die, because you just lost 2 of the cards got banned, and it's just not banned for this event. And then...
Yep.
The other side is like, wow, this deck looks really dumb. I don't want to play this game, right?
Yeah.
And those are like the two worst things in my mind, like going through people watching the stream that are trying to get into the game. So I would have either have liked to have seen them just ban it right out and be like, all right, Worlds players, like, you got, 3-4 weeks to prepare. Gesper and Thaumaturge are banned.
Or just not announce the ban till after Worlds.
Exactly. Or, yeah, just... ban on December 1 and be like effective immediately, and then go ahead and announce like your December event if that's like if they have a Petite Cup or something. I would have just done it that way, I think. Not that I'm mad at what they did. I 100% support the decision to ban these cards.
I do too.
And I don't know very many people that are arguing for the cards. So, yeah, I mean that's my thought on it. And again, I think it was kind of a catch-22 situation, right? Like, because people are going to complain either way you do it. So
right. Now, do you think? I guess the last point when it comes to stuff like this, and we briefly touched on this, a couple episodes ago. Does this become a slippery slope, or does this just make you more aware that
I don't.
Square is watching the progression of the game and they want to make sure that it's fun at every level, from
Yeah,
kitchen table play to tournament table play?
I think they were very careful about how they went about this ban. People have been calling for it for a while, and I'm glad they took time. I mean, even I think I jumped on the ban train probably like a month and a half ago, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it seemed like they really like tested it out. They really saw like that it was a problem, especially
Mm-hmm.
like you said, especially in the casual play. The people that are coming to the LGSs and playing in their weeklies, and they're getting smashed by this deck, and they're not even, and I think they even said it in the article they wrote. Like, it just doesn't feel like you're playing Final Fantasy, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're just getting smashed, and you don't get to play any cards. You're just dead.
Yep.
And it's pretty consistently doing that. Like, if you play one game like that every now and then, you're like, okay, fine. He just drew really well. He had every answer
Mm-hmm.
for the first 3 turns, and I was dead. And he was playing an aggro deck. But against
Mm-hmm.
Turbo, it was such a consistent like beating.
Mm-hmm.
That it was, I think it was a problem, and I think like I said, I think the main reason that these cards are gone is because they weren't fun, and they were limiting people from starting to play the game. And if you want the game to grow, that's something you have to think about.
Yep. So, and on the flip side of that, like it does let us know that Square is keeping an eye on things.
Oh yeah,
So, like if something else becomes unfair or oppressive or starts to become the thing, and but I guess what I'm trying to say is, does the line get drawn somewhere? Like, what happens, 3 months from now if everybody's complaining about Donnarumma Cactar the way they were complaining about Turbo?
right.
Does
I
that mean change comes down the horizon,
well,
or?
I hope that they take that into account and they do their testing again, right? Um,
Mhm.
my biggest issue, like at least with the cards that got banned, mainly Gesper, really, was he just allowed the deck to play a game it shouldn't be able to play, and he just erased your answers by forcing you to discard them. At least those other cards like Layla, that people are complaining about Layla and Dodaluma and Cactuar. Um,
Mhm.
if they get set up, they're super oppressive. But they have to get to that point and then dodge a lot of the answers up to that point. Not that there's like a ton of answers, right? Like obviously Dodaluma is something you have to think about when you're building your deck. Same with Vikings,
Mhm.
right? So I don't mind them because they don't. Those cards don't make you feel like you're not playing the game up to that point, but they can
Yep.
get to a point where you do feel like you're locked out, right?
Mhm.
So that's the
And I
difference
do
to
think,
me.
and this may be a hot take, but I think a card like Yuri is something that people may have to look at moving forward. Just to, and again, this is me playing devil's advocate here. I'm all for bannings and restrictions and erratas when they're necessary for the health of the. But
Right.
I am also one of those people that worries that if it becomes a thing where the outcry becomes so big on something, or a card becomes so powerful that it becomes the only strategy that play, where at what point do you have to not start looking at the cards but start looking at the people behind the cards that are making and testing, or not doing that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, and I think they were really careful about this. I mean I've said that a couple times now. So I'm hoping going forward, if this happens again, they're also extremely careful about how they test and like really make sure that something is oppressive or ruining a portion of the player base.
Mhm.
And I think if they come to that decision, then I'll probably be fine with it. If like
Mhm.
so
Yeah. So we don't want to beat that dead horse. We'll revisit this on the first, or we'll revisit it after Worlds to see what kind of impact it has on that, as far as from a viewership standpoint, from an entertainment standpoint, and then we'll revisit it again after the first when we see what the meta actually shakes up into. Because I agree with you, I think it's wide open, and I think now people can dust off deck ideas or try deck ideas that were literally unplayable until December 1st.
yep.
So we'll see how that goes. But another big piece of news, we had a really, really large event yesterday, and that was the Cauldron Cup. I know we had been hyping that up for a few weeks, and yesterday it finally came to fruition. Excuse me, what a fantastic event. We had 52 players And I know, like, when you look at card games and think, oh, that's a pretty minuscule number. Oh man, for an event that wasn't like an official Square event, like we were close to like Toronto numbers. That was more than Petite Cup numbers.
Yeah, I
So
think
it was a really strong sized event.
yeah, I think maybe outside of California, that's probably the biggest unofficial event that I've seen.
Yeah.
And I'd have to like double check the California numbers, but I'm pretty sure they've had an event around that size. They have a pretty large player base. But
Absolutely, and it was a really good event, and big shout out to Colin Rupert for winning our event yesterday. He was playing Mono Water Fasolia. Um, just really had strong play throughout the day,
yeah,
and a big shout out to all the top 8 players. Michael Tia finished second. He's one of the newer players up in Nova. Steven Arboleta finishing in top 4. Just really, really solid play. RVA's Colin Coughlin finishing top 8. Adam Duncan, returner himself, finishing top 8. So really, really strong event and really unique. I mean, there were 4 Fasolia decks in the top 8, but they were all different.
yeah, three were pretty similar, right? But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, they were all mono water, just different
yeah,
breakdown.
yeah, different the breakdowns of like numbers and such. Pretty similar forwards though for the most part. But yeah, I mean that's a very strong archetype right now, I believe, and yeah, I think it's gonna stay pretty strong even after Turbo is gone. So
Absolutely. And just a big, 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 big shout out to, Tej, Travis, really, putting this event together, doing a lot of the footwork. I know he did a lot of stuff out of pocket to really make this event fun for everybody. And we had Sam and Ken fly up from Georgia. Hunter drove up from North Carolina, Pennsylvania. The Gamers Heaven guys brought 12 people down.
yeah, it was great.
Richmond was in attendance. Sova was in attendance. It was a huge, huge event from people all over the place.
It also, I mean, it showed how big our scene is too. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, Pennsylvania brought a pretty good handful of people. I think around 12, like you said. Hunter came out from North Carolina. Sam and his buddy from Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, that still leaves like 40 people or something that are just from Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. This event was bigger than the ARG Charlotte event where we all kind of got our feet wet.
Yeah, so
So it was a great time. We streamed all day. I know we had a little hiccup with the video on demand. Again, we just can't seem to catch a break from Twitch right.
yeah, so I mean, we know the issue with this one. So hopefully they get an answer back because I figured out what it was.
And this was on the Turks, not ours.
Yeah, I streamed on their channel because they wanted to stream through their channel. And I mean, it's their event, so I'm not gonna, that's what they wanted to do. But it was a new channel that they had set up, and there was a box that we forgot to turn on, and we thought it was default. And then I realized that after the event was over, it was not a default box. So they've contacted Twitch. Hopefully, they can like retrieve their VOD and upload it to their YouTube channel because I don't want to lose another really good VOD of a really good tournament, especially that one.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we've had two weeks in a row where we've streamed these amazing events, and the first one we don't even know what the hell happened. It was there and then it just disappeared.
yeah,
And then this week it was just never there in the first place. But we actually had a lot of viewers. We had 20 plus viewers in the stream almost at all times.
I think we spiked around 45, and yeah, we were pretty stable like 25, 30.
And that's awesome, man. And a huge shout out too to James Lockwood and Matt Rice providing us with that emergency pizza lunch drop.
That was pretty awesome.
Out of the sky.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome actually. Like, yeah, big shout out to those
it was
guys.
awesome. And it's just a big just thank you to the community for just tuning in to what we were doing. And I know everybody had a good time. We initially wanted to cut to top 16, but the event was long.
I'm glad we didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. If we would have started maybe around like noon, I think it would have been doable. But man, when I didn't get home, and this place is only like 45 minutes away. So, the fact that I didn't get home and in bed until almost after 2 a.m. after, getting up at like 7 a.m. that day and having to, make a day of it, it was just a great day. And if we'd have done top 16, man, I probably wouldn't have gotten home till 3, 4 in the morning.
Yep.
But it was a great event. Can't wait for the next one. And the next one's right around the corner. We've got the Supernova Cup next week up in Northern Virginia. That will be running the 2-deck Euros format, and I'll actually get to play in an Opus 7 event. I'm real excited.
Yeah, it should be a good time. I'll be streaming again. I think Michael's gonna commentate with me, so should be fun.
It's a labor of love.
Yep. So,
but yeah, it's gonna be a good time, and I can't wait for that. So hopefully we'll get another good turnout for that, and we'll see how that goes. That's really all the news we have for today. So not a lot of news, but big pieces of news. So what we want to do really for the meat of this program is we actually wanted to have a little bit of fun today. We want, one of the things we like to do is we like to compare things and talk about stuff and make lists of things. And we've done a couple top 10s before, which I think is about time to revisit a lot of this stuff. So I figure we're going to start with something a little fun. We're going to talk about S abilities. And we're going to talk about what we our personal top 10 S abilities are. Granted, this is a completely subjective list. And there's probably some that we've missed because there are a lot of really good S abilities.
And I just want to say that this is in like we're talking about standard play, not like title or anything else. Like these are
because title makes it a completely different ball game. We're talking about just standard constructed play.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was gonna say we both have our list, but I just wanted to talk about a couple like S abilities that aren't on either of our lists that like
a couple honorable mentions.
They're more like they're S's that their characters don't see play, but I think their S's are strong. But there are reasons like they don't kind of get slotted into decks.
Sure.
So just really quick. So like I think number one for me is status reels. I think that's the big one. I think that S ability. I think that S ability is amazing. Problem is if you're playing water and you're not playing backup Waka, that's probably not good. Maybe if Guardians become like really good, which I don't foresee happening, forward Waka might be okay, but they also got the new backup Waka, so I doubt it. Another one that wasn't on either one of our lists that I think is actually does see some play and is very good is Gaia's Wrath. That's Rydia's S, the one that you can pitch summons to. I think that's a pretty good one. Snakebite didn't make either one of our lists, and that's a big one. I don't think Bushido Fang was on either of our lists, and I actually think that Cyan Special is pretty good, but I just think it's hard to find slots for Cyan in your deck.
Exactly.
And then the one that I like a lot, and I've played a couple decks, is Living Dead, and that's Scarmaglione Special. I think that one is very good. Doesn't see enough play. So I think that's it.
So it just goes to show that there are just a lot of powerful S abilities in this game. Some that can just change the pace of a game just by themselves.
Yep.
All right, so I guess if we want, we can go ahead and dive right in. Adam, we'll start with you. What is your number 10?
So my number 10 is Strongest Sword. It barely made the cut for me. There was a lot of things that I was kind of trying to juggle, like what to put in this slot. And while Golbez doesn't see a ton of play right now, I mean, when it did, it was really good. It's a very cheap S. It's just S and tap. He has Brave, so he can do it after attacking. And you cater your deck to it so that your probability of whiffing is like almost none.
Exactly.
And you're just going to break something. So, I mean, and there's a ton of Gilgameshes, right? Like, so many Gilgameshes to pitch this ability, which makes it pretty strong.
Yeah, it makes it extremely consistent. That's actually on my list as well. It's not my number 10. My number 10 is actually Arise. That is Lena's special. I think, Lena's a very powerful card. And while in regular mono water, it doesn't really see a lot of play. In like the mono water monsters builds, being able to bring back like Kefka or bring back something that's, because this gets back any forward except light and dark. You can just bring back a big, beefy, guy that has a great ETB trigger and just completely can change the pace of the game. So I think it's always been a very solid S ability.
Yeah, Rise is further up on mine too. Not by much, though.
Nice. Well, we'll go with number 9. I'll lead off on this one. My number 9 is Silent Verse from the Opus 5 backup Edward. There aren't many counter spells in this game. And sometimes when you hit somebody with Silent Verse, it's the blowout because they're really looking that summon to push through for the victory, and then you're just like, nope. And it's just an S and tap. Like it's a very cheap S ability, and it can just be backbreaking.
Yeah, that's higher up on my list as well.
Nice.
My number 9 is Rising Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
I think Saban's S is very strong. I think it's just sometimes hard for you to put 3 Sabans in your deck right now. But I don't think that makes it special any weaker. I mean, when you get it off, because he makes himself unbreakable, it's basically gonna almost be a one-sided board wipe. You might lose like one of your guys, and I think that's really good. 8K to the board is a pretty relevant number. You are spending 6 CP on it if you count the copy of Saban as 2 CP, but I mean every time I've done it, it's been kind of a blowout. So
yeah, usually when you hit Rising Phoenix, the game's over. And actually, that one's higher up on my list as well. So I guess we'll keep going down the train. Adam, what is your number 8?
So my number 8 is Arise. Kind of for the same reason. I think the big thing about Arise is you can get any element that's not light or dark. If you could get light or dark, you'll be so busted.
I'd be busted if you get lighter.
Yeah, could you imagine like bringing back a Nidhogg? But like,
oof.
I mean, bringing back a Kefka's pretty gross too. Like that's gonna like probably win you the game. Just getting big targets in your graveyard and then just hitting them for basically a discount, just at the cost of like a Lena. It's pretty good. I mean, it's a Lena and like what 4 water, I think.
2. Yeah, Lena and 4 water. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, technically on Kefka, that's still a 2 CP discount. So
exactly.
I mean, and then you can bring back other high priority targets that are just gonna kill something like Cloud of Darkness, stuff like that. So it's really good.
Absolutely. My number 8 is also one of my favorite S abilities in the game, and that's Blitz Ace. So many times, anytime you're running this, guys, like he's your win condition, and the fact that you can just take the damage, get up to 6, clear the way, and then boom, here comes Titus swinging in for 6. Blitz Ace can because sometimes when it happens, there's just nothing you can do about it. You just have to sit there and eat all 6 or 7 points of damage that are coming your opponent's way. So it's just a super powerful effect, and it does. This is one of those ones that it just straight up wins you the game when you win it.
Yeah, Blitz Ace barely didn't make my list, but I think it is a strong S. Yeah, and like you said, it's a win con. You have to like cater your deck to it a tad bit. But when you do, like,
and I think now with all of these other copies of Titus that are actually playable, we could see a resurgence of Blitz Ace, especially now with Turbo on its way out.
It's possible, yeah.
All right, so I guess we're gonna go ahead and go on to you're on number 7 now, right?
Yeah, it'll be yours first, right?
Yeah. Yep. So my number 7 was your number 10. It's Strongest Sword. I think this is a very, very powerful effect. And also due to the number of Gilgameshes that are out there. The fact that you can do this like 14 times, really, or something like that.
More than that now.
Yeah, like it's just a straight break effect. And it's just extremely powerful. And the fact that he can do it while he's attacking to potentially, remove what would normally be an unfavorable block. Like it's just a super powerful ability.
Yeah, and then my number 7 was on your list too, and that's Silent Verse.
Nice.
I think it's the best. I know you're probably gonna have one higher on your list because you haven't said it yet, but I think it's the best cancel counter spell in the game. Just because it's on a backup, it has no additional cost other than a copy of itself.
Yep.
And yeah, like you said, it's a blowout. Like you cancel a big summon in this game, you probably just win.
Yep, and this actually is the only counter because I think I agree with you. It is the best counter spell in the game, essentially.
Yeah,
it's just really, really strong, and it is a blowout. All right, so number 6. My number 6 is one that you're very familiar with, and I think it's one that's very, very backbreaking when it hits, and that's Death Penalty.
Yeah.
I think if you're playing Mono Earth that runs Vincent, you're running enough Vincents to really make this thing just a critical blow when it hits. Because this is another one very much like Blitz Ace. When you get it off, you've wiped their board and you're just gonna win.
Yep. Yeah, and then akin to Gilgamesh, right? If you have Yuffie out, you're gonna do this before they get the block after you attack. and that's
Exactly.
also really good. But yeah, that's actually higher on my list. And I'll go into more detail when we get up there.
Nice. Yeah,
So
because it's very, very powerful.
yep, I mean I play a lot of Title. It's really good in Title,
Oh,
extremely
it's
good.
insane in title.
But yeah, I mean you can easily run 6 Vincents in Standard. Like that's not hard to do.
You sure can.
So my number 6 is Planet Protector. Kind of akin to Silent Verse, right? It's just a blowout. It's cheap. It's the same. It costs the same as Silent Verse. Just just the cost of an Aerith, and not only are you probably going to cancel something because that's usually what you're going to use it for, you're also going to ready all your forwards. So I mean, it's pretty insane. And again, you kind of just win the game a lot of times. Like if someone tries to cast a Raiden or a Bahamut on you, like the 9 CP, and they target 2 of your forwards, and you just Aerith S and ready your forwards, I mean they're probably just lost. Like
Yep.
so.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's very, very powerful. So now moving on to number 5. My number 5 was actually a little bit lower on your list, and that's Rising Phoenix. This is definitely a homer pick for me because Saban is my favorite card in the game. But I can't tell you how many games I have won off of that I probably should have lost off of a Rising Phoenix. Just again, it does turn into a one-sided board wipe, and then your opponent can never recover after that because now they're they've lost all of these forwards, and now they've got a Saban beating them down. Just really, really powerful stuff.
Yeah, my number 5 is Death, a Dia special.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean it is kind of expensive, right? It's 4 CP and a copy of a Dia. It's 4 Lightning CP and a copy of a Dia. But I mean, it just breaks whatever you want. Now that you have access to like most decks run like 4 or 5 copies of a Dia.
Yeah, because of the backup.
Yeah, and you could pitch the backup to this S as well. And I mean, I've seen Death resolved like 3 times in a match, and you're probably not winning that. You're probably just gonna lose.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, and it just straight breaks a forward. I mean, those tend to be the best. Other than like removing, obviously.
And speaking of which, like my and then we're getting down to our last 4 here. My top 4 I think are all just extremely powerful, and I think one of them, my next one in particular, again because Turbo being gone, this one's going to start seeing a lot more play, and that's actually Mirage Dive. I think Lock is a very powerful card, and I think now that Turbo's gone, we're going to start seeing more of that 6 package come in. When you get to like 5-6 points of damage and there's a Lock on the board, I've never seen more people pick up break zones and look through them than when you see a Lock on the board and the game's about over, because you just have to be like, does he have it? And I don't have an answer for him. Sometimes that Mirage Dive, just the up and over, like it's like a goal, just the goal line up and over. It's just such a powerful S ability. This is another one that just wins you games.
Yeah, Mirage Dive didn't make my list, but I do think it definitely will see a resurgence as well, especially now that Turbo's out of the picture.
Yep.
There's no reason not to run the 6 package again, I think. We'll see, though, but I agree with you. My number 4 is Death Penalty. We kind of talked about this earlier. I mean, it's kind of like a lot of things, not just the S itself, which is very strong. Being able to break any combined cost of 7. I mean, you're probably going to kill at least 2 things most of the time.
Yep.
If you get lucky and the numbers line up, you'll kill 3 things.
Yep.
You can do this while attacking if you have Yuffie out. You're probably running the 5 CP Vincent, which is a burst that searches for Vincent. So you're going to usually have it. I mean, sure, it costs 5, but it's 5 colorless CP. It's not like tied to anything. So...
Yeah, that is absolutely huge, and I agree. I think it's a very, very powerful thing. And again, once again, as the meta is going to start to slow down a little bit, I think Death Penalty becomes a lot more playable.
Yep.
Yeah. So my number 3, I think our top 3 might actually be pretty similar. My number 3 on the list is Retrieve, and that's a Mog 11 special. This is one that is, I think, just straight up one of the most powerful in the game, because it just lets you, for just the cost of another Moogle and tapping the backup Moogle, you get to search for any card in the game. And what's so great about it is if you maybe your draw was a little clunky, but you got one of those, go get the cards you need, or you hold it back and it allows you to retrieve your answer. Like for example, say you're playing Ice Wind, you have this and you have Edward up, and you need the Edward to cancel something. You use the Moogle, go get the Edward, cancel that Raiden, cancel that whatever, and you've just blown your opponent. It's just such a powerful ability.
Yep. Yeah. So my number 3 is Dark, which is Big Cecil's ability. It's just really in conjunction with his auto, right? Like his ETB.
Yep.
It's really backbreaking, and even like now we're looking at decks that want to damage themselves.
Yep, because of cards like Noctis.
Yeah, and he just kind of starts that chain too. And again, like I think a theme with a lot of these S's that we're talking about, if they cost a lot, they better be doing a lot, and the other ones are like just an S. And this is one of those ones where it's like all you need to do this is another copy of Cecil.
Yep, which he has a lot of them.
Yeah, so like you don't need access to any backups open, like none of that. All you got to do is pitch one from your hand, and you're gonna break something more than likely. And then if you deal yourself a point, you deal yourself a point of damage, and then like Noctis triggers and all this other stuff, like it can get pretty crazy.
Absolutely. All right, so number 2. What is your number 2?
My number 2 is Retrieve.
Yeah.
I think Mog 11 is nuts. I think the only thing I can think of that you didn't say on top of all, like basically what you said is spot on. Like you can hold it, wait for like till you need some kind of specific answer for a situation and get it out of your deck and then cast it. But Star Sybil, the fact that card exists and it searches this card and Star Sybil's a burst makes this card even better, because now once I'm set up and I have all my other 11 stuff that I want out, if I've got my Cam, I've got my Sybil, which you can't search for yourself anyways, but you got your Semi, and you already have your Moogle on board, you just go get another Moogle, and then now your Star Sybil essentially searches for any card that you want.
Yeah, and that's really powerful.
Yeah, and it's also, honestly, I don't know if it should have been instant speed. I think this maybe should have been an S that you could only do during your main or something like that.
Yeah, it's extremely powerful.
Yeah, the fact that it's instant speed creates situations, like you said, where you just hold up, like, for instance, at Nats, I would just hold up Aerith and Mog, and if they did something that I felt like I needed an Aerith special, I would Mog special, go get Aerith, and then Aerith special, and blow them out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. And it's kind of funny, like our 2 and 3 were flip-flop. My number 2 is Dark. And a lot of what you said was right on the money. And just the fact that, I've had so many plays with this guy where I've like 4 for 1, where I've played Cecil, killed something, if it was maybe a higher drop, I'd put the damage on the stack or put the trigger on the stack, S ability, take the point of damage, flip a burst, kill something else. Now Noctis triggers, and then now I kill the thing that initially was targeted on the ET.
Yep.
So it just so many nasty plays with that card, and the fact that it does just cost S. And he's Big Cecil is just a very, very powerful card. And I think if you're playing Earth, you're running 3 of that guy. And just the fact that you can just threaten that in the mid to late game is just huge to me. It's just such a powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a theme in our top 3, because I'm pretty sure we know what our number 1s are.
Oh, yeah, I'll let you lead off on this one. I'm 100% certain we both have the same number 1.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a theme, obviously, right? Like, all the S's in the top 3 just cost S, and they do extremely dumb things.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, so obviously our number 1 for both of us is going to be Shoal, and that's a Lewis special. It's got too much text for just S. Like,
it is. I think it's too powerful.
Yeah, so like not only does it reduce the power of all your opponent's forwards by 2k, it activates all your forwards and gives all your forwards haste.
It's I have never seen more blowout plays. I mean, I know we say blowout a lot and a lot of these S's we chose are blowout plays, but Shoal is like you're driving down the street and you hear your tire just fucking explode. That's what Shoal is, because you probably like it. It's one of those things that when your opponent has a Lua on the board and they've swung out, and you're just like, I know they fucking have it. I know you have it.
Yep.
So you have to now start playing around that. And sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you just lose to that. And it costs them next to nothing.
It like you said, it does too much, right? Like, not only that, like, it creates situations like that where now, like, I'm tapped out, but it's in my hand, and you can't, you still can't favorably attack. It also lets you, like, say, I mean, because Alua herself has haste, right? You could, like, play Alua and, like, 2 other forwards or something in the one turn, and then Shoal, and now they all get to attack. Like,
yeah, like, when you're at, like, 3 or 4 damage now, you have to be, and Alua hits the board, you have to be worried about losing the game.
Yep. And
she's
then
a fast card.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like, just her card in general, right, is really dumb. She's already hard to get rid of. Yeah, I mean, she has haste, and she has a really annoying auto ability. And then on top of that, she has a cheap, dumb S. So...
yeah, it's just super powerful, and I feel like no other S in the game can just compare to what that one brings to the table. So, but yeah, that's our top 10. And you guys, while you're listening to this, sound off in the comments, whatever platform you view this on. Sound off in the comments. Let us know your top. Excuse me, I got a little air pocket there. Let us know your top 10. Let us know what you think. Let us know where you think maybe we missed one. Maybe we missed one that's super powerful, and let us know why. Because we're actually going to be doing this for a while. We're going to be doing our own little cycle of top 10s each week, just for kind of funsies. And I just want to see what people's thoughts are on this.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fun one because I feel like there are a lot of S's people forget about. I mean, these ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the ones that we named, I think most people are pretty familiar with. But there are a ton of S abilities that are pretty borderline playable. I think usually it's either like their archetype is just not good enough, so that card doesn't see play. Or there's a card named them that doesn't have an S that's just better than the card with the S, so you don't really see the S a lot.
You mean like Jet?
Well, that's just bad, honestly. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me that he like basically is going to lose power from using his S, and you have to spend for him. But that's whatever, another time.
So it sounds like what you're saying is next week we should do the top 10 worst S abilities. I mean,
we could do that.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
You like Celestial Stasis? That's my favorite.
Yeah, that's the best one.
Yeah.
It's the best worst one. So yeah, that's what we'll do. Next week we'll do our top 10 worst. And again, sound off in the comments what you think your top 10 worst S abilities are, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I'm sure our list will vary a lot because there's a pretty good amount of bad ones, I think.
Oh, I agree. So, but yeah, I think that's all we got for this week. It's a little bit of not a shorter episode, but definitely a little on the short side as far as because it's just been a light week. It was mostly news, and I'm pretty exhausted from that tournament yesterday. It was just a great time, just a great day, but a long day.
Yep.
But yeah, so next week we'll I think we're going to go over top 10 worst summons. We're going to talk about the Supernova Cup, man. It's going to be another exciting week.
Top 10 worst S abilities or summons?
Yeah. Top 10 worst S abilities. I'm already thinking ahead here.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that. We just got a lot going on, man. So, be on the lookout. All of our set reviews are out. So, feel free to look at those, comment, let us know what you think of those. And then we're just going to start getting into some Opus 7 deck techs, man. We got a lot coming down the pipe.
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas. I'm sure you do too. We're going to try to make as many videos as we can on those.
Absolutely. And also, we got our next episode of the Breakfast Club happening on Nationals weekend. On Worlds weekend, which is 2 weeks from now.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
So we got a lot coming down the pipe. So definitely stay tuned. But with that, I'm probably going to go ahead and play us off, Keyboard Cat.
All right. See you guys later.
Bye. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening once again to the RVA Returners podcast. If you like this content and you want to hear more, check us out on YouTube at RVA Returners. And make sure you follow us on SoundCloud and check us out on Google Play and iTunes.